Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I ask at this time that you silence all electronic devices as we begin our service. As a reminder, for the purpose of today's memorial service, the hangar will be treated as an outdoor area. Military in uniform should wear headgear and salute during the singing of the national anthem and the playing of taps. Additionally, civilian guests are asked to place their hand over their heart. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of colors by volunteers from the High Frontier Honor Guard and the singing of the United States National Anthem by Airman First Class Keo Missler, and the invocation by Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Robert Ward.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Before we pray, I would like to claim a truth, and that is, I don't want to be here, and yet there is no other place I would rather be. Perhaps you too are feeling that same tension. Let us pray. What words do we use, O God, when we are bowed down with grief? What words do we offer Stacy and her children? What words do we use, O God, when we invoke your presence to be with us? We gather together on this day to honor our wing commander and his life. We gather together and we are hurting. We are hurting because although we know where Colonel Thomas Falzarano is, we just miss him deeply. God of grace, we all can share a story, a conversation, a feeling that we cling to. We all can share the last time we saw him, the words we spoke, that he spoke. And we can share how empty it feels that we never had the chance to say, thank you, I love you, and goodbye. on the day that he died. Or perhaps we never said those words in the days, weeks, months that led to his last day. And so we search for words in this place that we have gathered together, and we will share our story of Colonel Thomas Falzarano. And we boldly proclaim, thank you, we love you, and goodbye to our friend and our commander. God of glory, send now your presence that we might feel your holiness as we grieve and as we honor and as we ache to heal and move forward. May we this day be pleasing in your sight. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Airman First Class Keogh Mishler and Chaplain Ward. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, friends and teammates. We come together this morning to honor and remember Colonel Thomas G. Falzarano. We come together not only to celebrate his life, but also we come together in grief, acknowledging our own loss, the loss of someone truly special, someone who meant so much to each and every one here. May God comfort our hearts today. Today, as we remember Colonel Falzarano, we remember the impact he made upon everyone gathered here today, everyone across our services and people around the world. As a visible reminder of his profound impact, there is a memento table to your right, which includes a Legion of Merit posthumously awarded to Colonel Falzarano in recognition of his superior effort, outstanding leadership, and personal initiative displayed as commander of the 21st Space Wing. Additionally, the table includes items from Colonel Falzarano's family and highlights from his military career. Following the service, please feel free to stop by the tables as you exit today's memorial service. Now I invite you to turn your attention to the screens for a brief tribute video.
All right. Hey, good morning, Team Pete, and all of our mission partners, and all of our airmen that are stationed around the world right now in one of the 27 locations that we have nights operating from. It's great to talk to all of you again.
He stated that he wanted to take new airmen to on TDYs with him, and I think I was one of the first ones to go TDY with him to DC, and we spent a week in DC, and I feel like a celebrity. I was walking through with him and all his crew, and we had a blast, and we actually got to celebrate his last birthday. That's the first thing that I thought about when I heard the news, and the pictures we took, they will definitely hold a place in my heart, for real. I miss Colonel Falzarano.
My husband was his operations officer at Eglin, and we got to know Tom Falzarano as Tom. We got to become good friends, family friends. Our children were the same age. My child and his oldest were the same age. And we would hang out at each other's house, eating mango key lime pie and just getting to know each other's families. We got to know him outside of the uniform, and just, he to us was just a very down-to-earth person, never forgot his roots, and cared about us as regular folks. And to me, that is the best memory I hold on to.
The most memorable moment with Colonel Falzarano was that time we actually met for the first time. We were doing a ceremony at the NCO Academy, and I was just showing him to see where he was going to be sitting during the ceremony. And instead of that being it, he actually asked who I was and my background, issues that we were going through, and my outlook on a way forward for us to be more beneficial in the Air Force. And him taking the time just for maybe that 10-minute conversation, it meant so much, because usually people don't take the time just to do that. So just having that conversation and getting to know who he was really great.
On a Tuesday, Colonel Falzarano and Chief Master Simmons they were walking by and they noticed our class. So they took the time to walk into our classroom. He introduced himself and told us a little bit about him. He got to meet our newest airman, and just those 10 minutes, they really meant a lot to our airmen and to me.
I came to his office to get some paperwork signed, and he was very personable. He invited me in. I thought I was just going to get a signature, and he sat there, he talked to me, asked me about my life, and about 10 minutes later, his exec finally told him that he had something else to do. So that was awesome of him to take the time to talk to me.
So my most memorable moment, and it'd be a sum of all, is that he's unfailingly kind, and that he understood the weight of discipline and lethality still, while being kind. And he knew that tomorrow's future was built today within the people, and it wasn't built on a new weapon system or technology or aircraft. It was built on today's people, and that's what he put his investment into.
We went down to a place called the Red Bar down on the Emerald Coast, and I was charged with getting drinks for everybody. So I was going to get him some bourbon. He introduced me to bourbon and cigars. Well, I asked for a double, and the bartender, being it mostly a beer bar, wasn't quite sure how to pour. So she ended up emptying the bottle of bourbon into a pint glass for us, and I present him with a full pint glass of bourbon, and he was completely wide-eyed, had no idea what it was, and he ended up making halfway through that, and he was done. He couldn't take any more. But that was definitely an outside of the uniform moment with us, and definitely a good time.
I had the privilege of going TDY with Colonel Falzarano to DC with some other members of the wing here, and the way he interacted and treated those folks was something special and something I'll never forget.
Last September, we went to the AFA conference in DC, and I think it was like the first day that was, the kickoff of the conference, and they had like a little parade going through the conference room, and I couldn't see because everyone was like taller than me. So I'm sitting there like tiptoeing, trying to, get around everybody, trying to see, and then he's like making fun of me. It's like he was standing kind of behind me. So he's making fun of me. He was like, "Oh, half pint, you can't see, huh?" And then there was this platform stage kind of thing that they set the speaker up on. So he's like, "Oh, just hop up on there, you can see." So the whole time I'm like, "No, I don't think I could do that." He's like, "No, go ahead." So he's like basically picked me up by like my elbow and like scooted me on the platform thing, and I'm like seeing above everyone, and he just like was there laughing the whole entire time.
Yeah, so my favorite memory with Colonel Falzarano was during the Transformational Leadership Seminar. I was selected as the narrator, and during that I had an embarrassing moment in front of the entire wing, and afterwards Colonel Falzarano spoke to me and gave me words of encouragement and lifted up my spirits.
So my favorite memory of Colonel Falzarano isn't just one memory. It's just every single time I interacted with Colonel Falzarano, he would always ask me how my family was doing, how I was doing, what we did this weekend. As PA, we get to interact with him a lot more than a lot of other people on the base, and every single time it was the same thing. With him, it always seemed to be people first when it came to stuff and not mission first, and that's something that you don't see in a lot of commanders, and something I wish we could see more, and it will truly be missed.
He was goofy.
Authentic.
Genuine.
Easygoing.
Open.
Family.
Illustrious.
Warrior.
Compassionate.
Extraordinary.
The only thing I'd like to say is how thankful my wife Stacy and I are to be part of this community again and part of this wing. And this is really, if I could tell you one thing, I'd tell you this is home for us. It's a fantastic place to live. Every day I get to wake up and look at these gorgeous mountains out here, work with the greatest airmen in the world, working on a mission that is 24/7 around the globe, as important as any other mission in the Department of Defense. And to have started as a lieutenant and come back here as the wing commander, I tell you, this is the absolute dream job in the United States Air Force.
Finally, I want to thank you for being patient and kind to your fellow Team Pete members. This is a long-term fight, And the only way we win is together.
Now we'll hear a few words from Colonel Falzarano's family. Started with a few recorded words from Mrs. Stacy Falzarano.
Tom is the love of my life. I am crazy, silly, in love with him. He has blessed my life beyond belief and given me these children who are the lights of our hearts. You all know about the Air Force officer, Colonel Falzarano, so I wanted to share with you a little bit about Tom at home on any given day, any evening after work. A typical evening for us also turns out to be the perfect evening for us. Tom comes home, in through the laundry room door and into the kitchen. Baby Valentina screams with delight, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." She leans forward to get her momentum going, and baby runs to Tom. Michael and Thomas come tearing in from the other room, also screaming, "Daddy's home, play with me, throw me in the air." So within about 10 seconds, Tom has 3 little ones climbing all over him. And he's happy. Most of the time they don't let him change his clothes, so he goes straight to the backyard with them to get swung around by Daddy and water the plants for a few minutes. But after Tom's had a chance to change, we all gather in the backyard. The boys wrestle on the trampoline and dig holes in the rocks. Baby Valentina toddles around exploring, putting rocks in her mouth, and I say for the millionth time, no mouth. Spencer hangs out with his leg kicked over the arm of the chair, strumming his guitar and flipping the burgers on the grill. Trevor sits in the chair next to his dad and tells him all about the trials and tribulations of the day at his job. And he's also educating his dad on the newest tech products out there. So what's Tom doing during all this movement and chaos? He's sitting in the rocker, puffing on a cigar, and taking it all in silence with a big grin across his face, because he's happy. And this is a really typical evening for us, but it's also exactly the perfect evening for Tom. Tom and I had plans. We had plans to gather in the backyard that Tuesday night. And we had plans decades out, which most likely involved Florida Adirondacks and our toes in the sand somewhere, watching the children play. What I wouldn't do for one more evening with the love of my life, Tom by my side. I'm not quite ready to say goodbye, but for now I'll just say thank you. Thank you, God, for bringing Tom into my life. Thank you, Tom, for our beautiful life together, our children, and my happiness. And thank you so much to the 21st Space Wing Airmen and Women. Tom loved you, he respected you, and he was always concerned about your well-being. We are really going to miss our military family and our military life. You are all amazing people, and Tom was so proud to work by your side.
I'd like to invite Colonel Falzarano's sons, Spencer, Trevor, Michael, and Thomas, to share a few words.
Thank you all for coming. It was actually one of our dad's favorite things to bring a lot of people together in one place. He would often pause all the action in a room to announce how proud he was to have all 4 of his men in one place. And of course, his only daughter, Valentina, he was very proud for the longest time. The only word she knew was Dada. They say pain leads to strength, and she won't exactly have to know the same pain all of us feel at this moment. It's the absence of a very important part of our lives, and I feel it's important to acknowledge the hole he left there, but also the strength he leaves behind, and the memories. Valentina will have the 4 of us to be strong for her and to protect her, which is something Dad told us constantly. He was a strong, thoughtful man who protected and took care of the people he loved. He constantly checked in on us and enlisted each of us to check in on each other, which we will continue to do, even though he's not here. I know we're all asking for more time with him, or why we can't have him here with us now. So instead, I'd like to ask for all of you to know that I'm very proud to call him my dad, and for you to let others know that you are proud to call him your brother, son, husband, father, or leader. His good deeds will remain in our hearts, as will his legacy. He was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. I love you, Dad.
I'm proud of you, Dad, and I love you. I miss you. Say, I love you, Dad.
Love you, Daddy. I love you, Dad.
Good job, bud. All right. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Colonel Falzarano's sister, Teresa, and brother Charles to share a few words.
Is first, thank you to the sergeants that got us here safely. Lopez, Pop, Galloway. The people listening in from afar, we miss them. To David Tao, giving the advice to take a breath before you speak, to settle your nerves. Thank you. So the last time we were here to celebrate the promotion of Tom to the 21st Wing Commander, Space Wing Commander. I remember my daughter Sarah sat on the bus with him. She was so proud of her uncle. She gave him a big hug. And my son, Matthew, felt like he could do anything after seeing his uncle promoted. Christmas this past year, Tom invited us back again. This summer, and he was going to celebrate a new promotion. We assumed it was to Brigadier General. And he was so proud. That was his dream. That was his biggest dream. And he was so proud to tell us. He had gone from a scrawny little kid in Saugus to a BG, and God had a different path for Tom, and took him unexpected before he could reach his dream. For me to tell Tom's story, I have to start in Saugus, where he spent his childhood. So our dad was a woodworking teacher and a English teacher, and our mom was a waitress. Our dad had bipolar disorder, which was a challenge for Tom and the family to navigate. Tom's grandma Margaret was one person that was instrumental in his ability to learn just fundamental life skills. One of my earliest memories of Tom was when he was 12, Charlie was 11, me, and Georgie was 10, and my grandmother, she wanted us to put up a fence, a wood stockade fence. It was about 70 feet long. And me as an 11-year-old, I'm reading the cement bag, and I'm like, I couldn't figure it out. But, he already had 2 posts in the ground, and he had a line strung from each post, and he was ready to go. And that's how brilliant he was, at projects and at setting a real good example. And we learned to follow Tom's example, and he truly did set a good example to follow. Growing up, we spent many years playing basketball at the Ballard School. Tom had good friends, a core group of friends that he played with. The Moores, John Bowser, the Bedros, Chris Scolacciati, and his brothers. The crew called themselves the Aardvark Posse. I kid you not. I would joke with Tom and call it the Antelope Posse, and he would get mad at me. But that was the name that his group of friends gave himself for their senior year in high school. Tom always included us with his friends, and we're grateful for that. We would play the entire day and take breaks to go over to the moors to play Madden football and ping pong. And a long day of basketball would end usually at the ground round, where we would have the ground round platter. And in those early days, sharing a meal with friends was just genuine happiness for us all. So Tom's dream was to go to the Air Force Academy. And he was able to achieve this with a chance encounter with a waitress, his mom, and a Congressman, Nick Marvulis. So Dad was so excited when we got the news. He had a station wagon back then. I think it had about 8 windows, if I remember correctly. He got a sticker for every window. And he went around town honking his horn. The whole people saw the stickers, because there was enough of them to see, So Tom spent several years after graduation away from the family, finding his path. We had a reconnection about 17 years ago, after my grandma Margaret's death. Dad, Mom, the entire family were all so proud of Tom's achievements in the Air Force. He was driven in life and was an inspiration for our dad, our mom, and our family, and Tom's family. When my dad passed, Tom was Tom was by his side. Yeah. And it was really special to see Tom and Dad kind of recalling memories of Dad growing up and my dad's escapades, because my dad had a lot of them, He had a lot of escapades. And I think as I wrote this, the thing I learned the most right in this speech was that, in that moment, Tom was teaching us the importance of giving someone a second chance. My dad. So we're all, as a family, incredibly proud of Tom and what he accomplished in the Air Force and with his family. We are touched by his generosity and his kindness. The airmen that served under him are thankful for his patience and his wisdom. We'll never forget the example that he set, and we do the best to carry it forward. Tom is in heaven now, presumably with Grandpa George. And Grandpa George, if I know him, is teaching Tom how to dance. Tom would argue and say he knows how to dance. But that's to be debated. And I want to just close with a prayer that his mom wanted me to read. She wanted me to read it loud, so I'll do my best. I did not suffer. This is by the Saint Teresa of Lisieux. I think she's the patron saint of suffering. I did not suffer minute by minute. If I did not suffer minute by minute, it would be impossible for me to be patient. But I see only the present moment. I forget the past and take good care not to anticipate the future. If we grow disheartened, if we sometimes despair, it is not because we have been dwelling, it is because we have been dwelling on the past or the future.
Okay. I'm going to try to take the same advice, taking a deep breath, and try my best here to get through this. So my brother Tom, as you know him as Colonel Thomas Falzarano, he dedicated his life to his family and his country. And as a child, we felt, and a lot of the things I'm going to say are very similar to what my brother said, just his unconditional love. And I have a few moments and special memories to share. I hope they bring a smile to your face as I'm reading through. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to create all these wonderful memories with my brother throughout the years. He led his life, just as my brother said, with integrity, with kindness, and with a lot of generosity and selflessness. My fondest memory of my brother was when we assembled the family above-ground swimming pool. He had this vision that we have a big family, 6 siblings, so we should all have a wonderful swimming pool to swim in. So he went and he ordered it, I think, from the classifieds. So we didn't have, Facebook and LinkedIn and all those different ways, and I think back then. So he ordered it, it arrived, followed by a huge mound of sand in the driveway. So then we spent days just taking wheelbarrows, delivering the sand to the site of where we needed to put the pool, and my fondest memory is just him launching us all into the air. And it wasn't 2 feet in the air, because he was a big guy back then even. It was 10 feet in the air. And so, and I cherish those memories. And even with my children today, when I do that with them, I think of him. So, and then another special memory is just every Christmas he would take us Christmas shopping. There was a 5 and dime store down the street. So, he would take us, we'd go through all the aisles, and he would be so patient. And, back then we had $10 to spend on the whole family. And so he would just walk down each and every aisle with us and pick out a special gift. And it was important to him that we all had a wonderful Christmas. I just remember him being so patient. And as my brother mentioned, he loved basketball, and he was a star player during high school. But he couldn't slam dunk, so he was convinced, he was close. He was convinced that he could do it, but he needed a game plan. So he ended up purchasing these, I looked them up, they're called jump plyometric training shoes, and I took a picture of them. He had a red pair, but I don't know if you can see that, but he got these shoes. And so as a kid, I would see him just set off into the neighborhood, running around the neighborhood, running, jumping, right? And eventually he achieved his goal. And he was always like that. He always set his goals throughout his life and strived to achieve them through his hard work and vision. And I have a special letter that he sent home the first day he arrived at the Air Force Academy. I took a portion of it. I'd like to read it to you. Hi, everyone. I'm here. First, I want a letter at least every day. I'm doing fine. It's 11 p.m. Thursday right now. There's a lot of last-minute appointees. I'm staying with one right now. And then he goes on to say something special about each of his siblings and even the people that he worked with back then. It's just really wonderful. I miss Joanne terribly. She's so perfect. I loved her card. Teresa made me cry because she's so sweet. She spent all her money on me. I'm not sure how much money that was, but it was all the money at that time. So Mary Ellen's present will be used every night to listen to my special music. George will not win the Super Bowl. I thought that was funny. Charlie, you should come visit. Charlie and George, you should come visit. Start saving now. Love, Cadet Tom. And then he also wrote, I didn't mention, but he wrote about the people he worked with in the catering business that we had back then. He said, make sure you tell them that I said, hello, they're all wonderful people, you know? And then my last conversation with him was back in March, and he expressed deep concern for his airmen. He was working to ensure their safety. I told him to make sure, as a sister, make sure you're looking after yourself too. His response was, we have a country to protect. I need to keep everyone focused on the mission. My brother took great pride in serving his country during this time, during his lifetime, and he was especially honored to serve his country during this time in our country's historic history. So those are the words. And to Stacy and all the boys, we're here for you, and we're going to love you, and we're going to, be there for each other. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Falzarano family. Thank you, Stacy, Spencer, Trevor, Michael, Thomas, Charles, and Teresa. Now I'd like to invite Lieutenant Colonel Jason Woolard, United States Air Force retired, to come forward and share a few words.
Good morning. It is my honor and privilege to speak for you today on behalf of Tom's Air Force Academy classmates. When we heard of his passing, it was a gut punch. We were shocked, stunned, and saddened to learn that his light had left us. And to his bride, Stacy, his 4 sons, Trevor, Spencer, Michael, and Thomas, his baby girl, Valentina, his mother, and siblings. Our hearts go out to you as we grieve his loss together. We cannot imagine how difficult this time is for you. However, while it is necessary and proper for us to mourn Tom's passing, for the next few minutes, I would like to invite you to celebrate with us, his classmates, a life that was awesomely and abundantly lived, a life of dedicated and selfless service, of seemingly limitless humor, of boundless friendship, of fraternal kindness, indeed of love in all of its many meanings. I will tell you a little bit about some of the ways that Tom enriched our lives just by knowing him. Our friend, your husband, your father, your son and brother, and your commander, your colleague, and fellow Capital A Airman, was a very special man who left an immediate and deeply meaningful impression on anyone who had the pleasure of meeting him. Tom was a respected Air Force officer and leader, and he was devoted to the mission of our Air Force and to all airmen. He viewed service as a privilege, and he lived his life every single day as an embodiment of our Air Force core values. Many of us in attendance have known Tom since we were teenagers. A few of us met him at the very beginning during basic cadet training, way back in June of 1990. More of us met him a short time later as freshmen in Eagle 8. And for the rest of us, we met the man whom we would come to affectionately know as Falz in fall of 1991 as one of the Black Panthers of Cadet Squadron 29. Falz was friendly to everyone, and his calm and easygoing personality meant that he made many lifelong and enduring friendships. He was well loved by many in both of his academy squadrons, in our class as a whole, and by his fellow brother and sister airmen. One of these lifelong friends emailed me over the weekend and related to me just how special Falz's comradeship was. They wrote of what it meant to have somebody like Tom come alongside in friendship, and I quote, "He was my best friend at USAFA. As cadets, he helped me through the difficult times. He was always there. I always thought of him as a big brother. After graduation, we kept up sporadically over the years, always visiting when we were close by. I wondered lately if heaven has a glass floor where he can look down and see all of us, or if his spirit sometimes walks amongst us. Either way, I am sure that he is there waiting for us. He was by far one of the best men I've known in my life. Devoted, dedicated, loyal, honest, and kind." Another one of the things for which Falz was best known was his contagious, hearty, and infectious sense of humor. Often he would jokingly tease those on the other side of humorous conversations by claiming tongue-in-cheek that he had, quote, "a big pair of cement overshoes, a big trunk in my car, and I'll make you swim with the fishies." This kind of humor was a staple for Falz, and it quickly became a long-running joke amongst our squadron mates, and even made it into our graduation yearbook. Dr. Audrey Tomjack and I had the special privilege of being able to attend Falz's Assumption of Command ceremony here at the 21st Space Wing last July. It seems like only yesterday that we witnessed firsthand how excited Tom was at this milestone event in his career. Just like he loved being a husband to Stacy and a father to his children, he loved being a commander. And I heard of how he enjoyed caring for those under his charge. I had also heard of how he reached out to the cadet wing community a couple of months back after 2 suicides, helping brainstorm ways to boost morale and to help cadets through the hardship of COVID-19 induced isolation. Moreover, ever selfless, giving, and generous, he and his wife Stacy opened up their home to his squadron mates after our 25-year reunion this last November. To quote another classmate, "What a treat that was." As for me, my friendship with Tom only deepened while we were roommates. The second half of our junior year and senior year, we formed the kind of bond that comes by enduring adversity together, and I count myself blessed to have been able to keep in touch with him over the years and to celebrate his successes with him and to be able to be here today. And now I close this message with the 3rd verse of the Air Force song. For those who are not familiar, it is something that is traditionally sung softly at the end of Air Force Academy football games. It commemorates those fellow Air Force airmen who have fallen. Here's a toast to the host of those who love the vastness of the sky. To a friend, we send a message of his brother men who fly. We drink to those who gave of all their old. Then down we roar to score the rainbow's pot of gold. A toast to the host of those we boast, the U.S. Air Force. Farewell, my brother. Thank you for your friendship, joie de vivre, your leadership, and for your example of a life well lived. You will be sorely missed.
Next, Colonel Sam Johnson will come forward to share a few words.
Good morning. I'm Sam Johnson. I have the honor this morning of representing the 21st Space Wing. I've been Tom's vice commander for the last year. Joan, Mary Ellen, Teresa, Charlie, George, Joanne, thank you for traveling from Boston to help us honor your son, brother, and also our wing commander, mentor, leader, and friend. Stacy, Trevor, Spencer, and all the Falzarano family, we are so sorry for your loss. It's a huge loss for the 21st Space Wing, but we know this is an even bigger loss for your family. We wish we could divide your pain by 4,000 and each carry a part of the load for you. But the best we can do is be with you, share your grief, and show you how much he was loved and respected. Unfortunately, we are limited on the number of attendees today, but there are hundreds of people tuning in online, and this hangar would have been packed if we could have had everyone here whose lives he touched. The last 10 months have gone by so fast. Front office gatherings, his many trips to geographically separated units, transitioning to the U.S. Space Force, and of course the dreaded snow calls have kept all of us incredibly busy. He always knew how to slow down though. He always took time to connect with everyone he met, and everyone he talked to became an instant friend. He listened intently and absorbed every word you said. He would hand out his business cards to airmen wherever he went and tell them they could contact him directly. I asked our wing senior leaders for inputs to help me today, and the theme was consistent. He always wanted to build connections to make the wing stronger. He always made everyone feel like they belonged, and he wanted each unit to feel like a family. He really loved visiting our units around the world and talking to airmen. He had a special place in his heart for the airmen at Thule Air Base, Greenland. He traveled there twice during his first 6 months of command to share the experience of both the 24-hour daylight summer season and the 24-hour dark extreme cold of the Arctic winter. Falls was very attuned to the limitations our airmen faced at one of the DoD's most remote locations, and he was dedicated to helping them. He also did a day-long TDY to each Colorado Springs unit. It was during his security forces visit where he voluntarily got attacked by the military working dog and got tased by our defenders. He said it was a blast, but once was enough. When he was TDY with the civil engineers, he literally rolled up his sleeves and got his hands dirty filling potholes with our dirt boys and worked the fire training area with our fire dogs. I think he enjoyed filling potholes so much that he would have made it a weekly standing appointment if he could have. He loved making individual connections with people and continued to keep those connections over lunch, phone calls, or just quick chats in the hallway. Colonel Kirsten Aguilar, our Mission Support Group commander, said, Colonel Falzarano was a huge fan of the MSG. He often told us that his best days were days he could spend time with the airmen, always wanting to hear their stories and learning about their families. From day one, he emphasized the importance of connections and was deliberate and genuine whenever he visited the MSG team. Mental health was one of his most important focus areas. He had total trust and confidence in the wing staff and group leadership that they would ensure the mission got done, which allowed him to concentrate on more of the people aspect. Colonel Chris Vaughn, our Med Group commander, said, Colonel Falzarano connected with the medical staff very quickly. It was apparent he was genuinely interested in people's health and well-being. Falls also wanted to constantly improve the base. He would always ask, what are we doing to make it better? One of his pet projects was fixing the marquees at the gates. Not just because they have orange lights and look like they're from the 80s, but he really wanted to know, how are we communicating with the people? He pushed the team to find a way to replace them with more modern color marquees, so you'll see those at the gates soon. Every time I drive onto base and see the new marquees, I'll think of him. Falls was a perfect leader for us during the last 3 months of the COVID crisis. He was always calm and a steady leader, pushing everyone to find smarter ways of keeping operations going and services open safely. He kept driving everyone to be creative and think of ways of doing things we hadn't done before. It was very important to him to keep the base open for veterans, in some cases Purple Heart warriors who rely on the base services like the BX, commissary, and pharmacy. Just like everyone in the wing, he saw all veterans as part of the family, and it was important for him to make sure the family still had access to the services they had earned. Falls had one major mantra as a wing commander, that was built to last. Falls wanted to make sure everything we do is sustainable and doesn't fall apart for the people who come after us. We're going to remember his mantra, carry on and keep doing our mission, because he would have wanted us to be built to last and keep going. As you can tell, Falls loved the Air Force, our mission, and our airmen. Family and people were the most important things to him. He loved his family and he talked about you guys all the time. We wish we could carry your grief for you, but the best we can do is be here and let you know how much he was loved and respected, and we're all going to miss him too. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Major General John Shaw to come and share a few words.
Good morning. Before I say anything else, I'd like to acknowledge Tom's wife, Stacy, children Trevor, Spencer, Michael, Thomas, and little Valentina, and his mother, Joan. I'd also like to acknowledge the rest of Tom's family, his brothers and sisters, close friends. It was truly moving to hear the words of many of you this morning. As Tom's commander and fellow brother in arms, I too am sorry for your loss and feel how small any words of mine must be that might attempt to bring you or any of us comfort at a time like this. But I would like to sincerely express my gratitude to your husband, to your father, your brother, your son, for his life of service lived towards something greater than all of us. Truly, our great nation owes a debt of gratitude to Tom and you, his family, for his career of devoted and selfless service. When I heard that Tom had passed, I just was in disbelief. In fact, I had an email from him in my inbox he had sent just a few hours prior that I had not yet responded to. Yet one of many conversations among all of us left unfinished with Tom. To lose a man like Tom unexpectedly and in his prime, a soul truly larger than life, is just so devastating to all of us who knew him. As I search within myself, the only small comfort I find in knowing that Tom's was a life not wasted. Jason, you said it really well. He lived each and every day to the fullest. As you've heard already here today, and certainly as I personally knew Tom, he was always the voice of calm in the midst of storm. He demonstrated this time and time again in his career, in all of his commands, in all of his leadership challenges, and especially in his most recent assignments. Recently, as the money guy for space in the Pentagon, he braved the chaotic budget world within the Department of Defense with firmness and focus. As General Raymond's executive officer, in a time of tremendous turbulence and change for space in our business, he ran a tight and unwavering ship. And in the best job that anyone could ever have, and I know that Tom loved it too, as the 21st Space Wing commander, he showed true excellence in leading and caring for those in his charge. He led not only with wisdom, but with grace. He fought the good fight. He made us all, no matter what rank, better leaders, better airmen, better people. And as Chief Simmons captured it so well in his recent article in the base paper, as you heard from Colonel Johnson, Tom was about creating something built to last. His life and work touched thousands at Peterson Air Force Base, in the local community, and in our broader air and space force. There's no doubt in my mind that what he built, his influence on our units, our missions, and on all of us, will indeed last well into the future. It has been our great privilege and our solemn pride to have known and served with Tom Falzarano, and we will forever cherish his memory.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Woolard, Colonel Johnson, Major General Shaw. In keeping with Colonel Falzarano's Christian faith tradition, a reading from the Christian scriptures will now be offered by Chaplain James Fawcett and Chief Master Sergeant Jacob Simmons, followed by a few words of comfort from Chaplain Timothy Sessions.
From Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long.
Thank you all for being here to honor my friend. I pray these words inspire you as one last set of instructions that he would give us. They come from 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter, verses 8 through 14. He who plants and he who waters are one, and each will receive his wages according to his labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and someone else is building upon it. Let each one take care how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds a foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become manifest, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work that anyone has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. I believe my friend walked and worked by these words. I pray we do as well.
I'd like to echo Chaplain Ward's sentiment at the beginning of his invocation. It's an honor and a privilege and a sacred trust to be able to offer these words of comfort to everyone today, but it is something that no chaplain wishes to do. If you were to drive by the 21st Space Wing headquarters building on Tuesday, the 12th of May, and take a look up at the second floor, you would see a phrase plastered to the window which simply said, "We've got this. Together, we are stronger." This message was intended to bring encouragement to our wing and give hope in the midst of the current COVID-19 health crisis. But by the evening of the same day, that message took on an entirely different meaning to all of us gathered here today and to those who are watching around the globe. That message can still bring encouragement and hope to us in the midst of our grief. We've got this. Together, we are stronger. To Stacy, Trevor, Spencer, Michael, Tommy, Valentina, and the rest of Colonel Falzarano's family, I would like to let you know on behalf of the Knights of the 21st Space Wing, you do not grieve alone. We know that you've lost a husband, a father, a son, and a brother. We've lost our commander, a great leader, a mentor, and a friend. But in addition to saying that you are not alone, I would also like to say thank you. Thank you for sharing Colonel Falzarano with us and with our nation. I know in the course of his duties as the commander of the 21st Space Wing, he was often pulled away from the home to ensure the success of our global mission of space superiority and national defense. And I believe a blessing in disguise of the COVID pandemic was he was able to be home probably more in the past 2 months than ever before. These are moments to truly cherish, and I encourage you to hold them tight. As Chief Simmons read a moment ago from the first epistle to the Corinthians, we heard a message from the Apostle Paul where he describes the gift which God had given to him, which was to be an expert builder, building upon the strong foundation of Jesus Christ. I believe this gift of being a great builder was something that Colonel Falzarano himself possessed. In his personal life, he built upon his faith in Jesus Christ, which he shared to those around him in his own way. This gift of being a great builder influenced his leadership throughout his career and specifically to the 21st Space Wing. When he took command, Colonel Falzarano clearly shared with us his expectations. He wanted us to display respect, responsibility, and readiness, which was something he modeled for us on a daily basis. Colonel Falzarano wanted us to leave a positive footprint wherever we went and whatever our mission may be. He peered deeply into the future, and he expected us to share his passion for sustainability, which is where the Built to Last mantra was born. Colonel Falzarano's vision of sustainability resonated with me personally so much that when I had the opportunity to share the chaplain's motivational thought during one of our weekly Team Pete updates, I wanted to share this simple message that was inspired by the scripture that we read. It's a simple message. It says, if you want to leave a legacy, you must build a legacy. In order to build a legacy that will stand the test of time, we must consider the foundation and the materials we use. Many people have chosen to build their legacy on a weak foundation with temporal materials such as wood, hay, and straw. Their structures easily pass away when storms and trials come. However, a gifted builder digs deep and finds a strong foundation and then uses materials of gold, silver, and precious stones, which remain strong. Paul was talking about materials of true quality. These strong quality materials, they do not pass away, but rather they pass through. Whatever fiery trials may come, and we're left with a structure where we know the value and quality which is revealed. Unfortunately, as fate would have it, I wanted to share this message and I wanted Colonel Falzarano to hear it, but he was out doing what he did best, spending time with airmen, often going on local TDYs to units here on base, often going on TDYs around the world. So he was not at that meeting that day, and I was a little disappointed that he wasn't there to hear what I had to share. But I look back in hindsight and I realized, and I'm convinced that Colonel Falzarano didn't need to hear that message. He was already living it out. Colonel Falzarano built on a firm foundation using quality materials. In the days following his death, I heard story after story about the impact he had on the many people he encountered. We've already heard countless stories today of how he impacted individuals. He took time to invest in people's lives. He took time to hear their stories. He also would share his own. He made sure that everyone felt like a valued part of the team, regardless of their rank, regardless of their position. Colonel Falzarano was a gifted builder, especially at building up people, which is in turn foundational to our mission, because people are the mission's backbone, and I believe he knew that. As I drove to work the day after his death, I pondered in my truck about his leadership style. And it came to me, I was reminded the first time that I met Colonel Falzarano. It was before he took command of the 21st Space Wing. But he had come to the chapel one Wednesday night with Stacy to check out one of our children's programs, Awana. And as Stacy was filling out paperwork, I noticed this tall colonel standing over in the entryway, and he was very relaxed, nonchalantly holding his daughter, Valentina, in his arms, as any loving father would do. When he eventually took command and shared his vision with the wing, I was hearkened back to that moment, and I realized this guy has a fatherly quality to his leadership. And the reason was he was a father. He became the 21st Space Wing's dad in a way. And just as any father wishes the best for his child and seeks to teach them how to succeed in life, Colonel Falzarano wished for the same thing for our wing. He wanted the best for us, and he wanted us to succeed. He wanted to leave a legacy. And we can look around this room and see that he did exactly that. He left a legacy of a strong military family. I know there's a lot of things that are probably left undone that Colonel Falzarano wanted to see happen. As a chaplain peering in, I observed that he had this great desire to witness and to participate in the renaming of our base as we fall in line with the newly minted Space Force. I'm sure there's many other things left undone that I'm not privy to. I know many of you out there may be privy to. But the good news is we can continue his legacy. We can pick up where he left off. So my encouragement to you is this: as we grieve, let us remember the foundation that Colonel Falzarano laid before us. Let us survey the work that he accomplished and see the quality of work that he left, which is gold, silver, and precious stone. The mission still goes on. And the best way that we can honor Colonel Falzarano's legacy is to pick up where he left off. We must continue to build up one another with the same dedication and craftsmanship that he displayed. Let us continue building a legacy of respect, of responsibility, readiness, and sustainability. Ensure everything you put your hand to is accompanied by your heart, so that whatever you do is built to last. I encourage you to look around to your left and to your right and see the people that God has placed in your life and remind them that we've got this. Together, we are stronger. As I close, I would like to share a fitting tribute to Colonel Falzarano that I came across recently. It simply says, "A night has fallen, a sword has sheathed. We will continue to fight the mission in his honor." May God continue to bless us in our time of grief, and may God continue to bless our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain Fawcett, Chief Simmons, and Chaplain Sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, volunteers from the High Frontier Honor Guard will come forward for a flag folding ceremony honoring Colonel Falzarano. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and prepare yourself for 3 volleys of rifle fire to your right out the north door, followed by the playing of taps. It is appropriate for military members in uniform to render a hand salute during the playing of taps and for civilians to place their hand over their heart. Please be seated. Now, Chaplain Charles Blizzard will come forward and offer our benediction. In honor of Colonel Falzarano's Christian faith tradition, Chaplain Blizzard will share Christian prayers from a liturgical tradition which includes Trisagian prayers, Psalm 91, prayers for Colonel Falzarano and his family, and a traditional blessing. At the conclusion of the prayers, Staff Sergeant Owen Ricker will play Amazing Grace on the bagpipes. Thank you, Chaplain Blizzard and Staff Sergeant Ricker. Ladies and gentlemen, as we dismiss, I invite our ushers to come forward. Please follow their direction so that we can ensure proper physical distancing measures. Please feel free to pass by the table to your right and pay respect to Colonel Falzarano and view the mementos. This concludes our service. Please go in peace.